Hi, Fashion Dolls. It is finally Fierce Female Friday, April 12th, and welcome to another episode of Style by Stevie. Our very special guest today is a singer, songwriter, and poet, and I'm super excited to have him here in the Dollhouse. Now, he was referred to me through one of our amazing followers, supporters, Nolly D. Very special thank you for setting this interview up. I'm super excited to get into it with this creative individual today. And he is from the Southern California area. So I'm super excited to have him here. Ladies and gentlemen, joining me and welcoming the multifaceted monster.
Hello.
Hi, there we are. Now I can
All right.
see you. I couldn't see you
Cool.
before. Now I can see you.
Right on.
Welcome. Welcome to the Dollhouse.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
It's such a pleasure
Thank you for having
to have you here. Happy Friday, and please forgive my tardiness. I had to make sure that I had everything uploaded for today's show and give everybody a look at the weeks. So make sure you guys go and vote. But before we get into our conversation, introduction. Now, is it true that you're from the Southern California area?
Yeah, born and raised here in Southern California. Been
Okay.
pretty much my whole life. Yeah, I've been out of the state a couple times, but just to visit different places. But born and raised here in California.
Okay. So, at what age did you develop the passion for creating and writing and doing music?
Mm. It would have had to been, I think I was about maybe 14, 15. The foundation, I started off with writing poetry. And from there, later on, I was like around older friends that were like rapping and I heard them being MCs. And I started to kind of get into it. I realized that rapping was just poetry on a beat. At some point, it just kind of clicked to me. I'm like, oh, this is the same thing, just kind of rhyming patterns. But yeah, it was about like maybe 14, 15 that I really started with poetry as a foundation. And like my later teens, like 16, 17, started getting into rapping and hip hop.
Now I have to ask because I know every artist has somewhat starts in the church. Did you start in the church somewhere? And what was your parents' reaction to saying, okay, this is the type of music that I want to create, the type of direction that I want to go in music?
Yeah, I was definitely raised in the church. And when I was first doing music, when it turned into rap, like the influences that I was around and the people, it was not necessarily positive. It was like more crazy, wild, and so the type of music I was making was like neurotic, but also like very angry,
Dark.
negative, dark music. It was just expressing all those emotions that I didn't really have an outlet, I guess, to express. Like because growing up, there was no like this idea of like therapy and like mental health and all these different things. So I guess that was like my coping strategy was doing music. So I expressed like anger and like frustration and rage and all that in my earlier music. Yeah.
So you said starting off writing and doing music at the age of 14 years old, starting off in the church, I had to ask the
Hmm.
backstory because every artist creatively has a backstory. And I've listened to some of your music. Misery is one of my favorites. Another one of my favorites of yours is God's Violin 2 and Intuition. You have such a, how can I say it? You have a very vivid ear for music, and you remind me so much of one of my guests. His favorite artist is Tech Nine, and I'm pretty sure you've gotten that. There's been comparison between the both of you two because it's not dark, but it's in a way where you rap very fast and your delivery is on point. So you remind me so much of Tech Nine, and I'm pretty sure you've gotten that from some of your listeners. But you have your own sound, and you do it with your poetry, and that is so unique. So poetry and personal experience. Tell me which some of your pieces of your music have you ever pulled from personal experience, or do you ever find yourself like, okay, I got to write about this?
Yeah. There's definitely been songs like, for example, "Misery." That was from personal experience. That was sort of a comeback track from a hiatus,
Oh,
from on a creative hiatus, because I kind of just stopped doing music for a while because I associated it with, for myself personally, with my alcohol addiction. So I was like, whenever I was involved with music, I seemed to be going down that road with drinking because it was just like a part of the scene, like on a normal basis, which for people that could drink normally, it works for them, but not for me. So I just kind of distanced myself from music, but I went through a lot of chaos with like addiction and all that, with alcohol and like just self-created chaos, and a lot of that is reflected in my music. And Misery Loves Company, I realized that I was like kind of around some people that were not necessarily happy, and I wasn't happy myself at the time. So it was just like you realize that misery really does love company, because when people are just in that darker place, they don't really want to be in it alone, or you'll kind of like you get the people that will tear other people down or whatever it is to allow them to not focus on their own chaos for a moment.
Now, have you ever had to pull back when you're writing in a studio session? Do you ever find yourself having to pull back like, whoa, this is kind of dark for me? Like there are artists out here who don't even record, almost don't even record songs because the song is too deep for them, or it takes them to a place where they don't even want to put the single out or the music out because it's too much for them to handle. Like, I give you an example. Tony Braxton said, I almost didn't record Unbreak My Heart. And Janet Jackson is another one of my favorites. I love Janet Jackson.
Right, right,
She said for the Velvet Rope album, that album was very dark. She had to go to a place where she did not want to go. On the album, she touched on a number of things from sexuality to losing a friend to the AIDS pandemic to domestic violence. She touched on a number of things on this album. Everything that she was feeling. And at the time, she was going through stuff with body image, the tabloids, and so many people were saying so many things about her.
right,
But she said she almost didn't record that album, The Velvet Rope. But it turned out to be the masterpiece it is, thanks to Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis.
right.
There were some days where she just didn't even show up to the studio because some of the tracks were just too personal. They were too dark for her. So for you as an artist, do you ever have moments like that where it's just like, okay, I'm going back and I'm looking at the lyrics to my song because I'm looking at you put out a lyric video to Misery, and I went through, and it's one of them where you were talking about friends and how sometimes friends can be kind of good, and then they show you who they truly are. One part of the lyric in that song, but I asked that to ask this question because I know a lot of artists find themselves in a dark space. For you, do you ever have a moment where you just like, okay, I need to take a break from recording this for
Hmm. I've Since I started recording again, I haven't had those, but I definitely have had a time where I'm like, it's either I'm recording, I'm all the way in, or I'm just taking a break from music. Period. But I, like when you described about the other artists, like how it took them back to these darker places with these traumas and
me?
experiences. I've learned to embrace those and like actually, in hindsight, like I get pleasure out of these experiences because for the creative, it's that's where the beauty lies. Like our experience, people don't really want to hear like the happy-go-lucky everything. Like they want to relate to you and like hear you express like I've been through some of these things that you've been through, because a lot of people probably went through some things, and I feel like for me it's a part of the journey. It's a part of this is not necessarily just for myself. Like the gift that I was given to be able to create music and the experiences I've had are fuel for me to create. So whether it's heartbreak, that's fueled music for me before, and like revisiting that, like heartbreak has probably been probably the biggest influence when it comes to like poetry and writing music, because it's nobody wants to deal with it, but it's like it drives you. It can drive you like with emotional pain, like heartbreak. It could drive you to either like into addiction where you just like cope with it by ruining your life and go drugs and alcohol, or you could channel that energy and like get some help. Like for me, I chose to go to therapy so I don't go down that route of self-destruction, so then I can actually take time and do music and create without ruining my life.
I applaud you 100% because I'm pretty sure you caught some of my previous shows and walked in and I've touched on mental health and how important it is for Black men predominantly to open up and discuss mental health. And we're seeing now a rise of Black men take in and say, okay, hey, I want to go to therapy. I need to go to therapy. I'm not going to keep my emotions bottled up inside, because the Black collective, for years, we have been taught to keep things in, to be stoic. And I had this conversation with a good friend and colleague of mine, Bubs the God, shout outs to him.
Hmm.
We touched on this yesterday when we were talking about stoicism and how we have to be strong. 400 years of oppression, that is going to be stuck with people for years and years to come. What our ancestors endured and our great grandfathers, great grandmothers had to endure the past few
Right.
years, that is going to be stuck with us. So to see people of color, Black people predominantly, get out here and normalize and prioritize mental health, that is something that's beautiful, because we cannot take the weight of the world on our backs by ourselves. There are resources out here that you can help, that can
Absolutely.
help you along the way. And you talked about alcohol addiction, because that is a thing. A lot of people think that they can drink the pain away, smoke the pain away. They figure, but the thing is, that's just like a temporary numbness. It's a temporary fix. But at the end of the day, you're still going to be feeling that pain. And that's why it's important to go and talk to somebody rather than to keep everything bottled up inside. So I applaud you as a Black man for saying, hey, I've had to seek therapy, because not many Black men, it's the pride thing. Some of them, not all of them. It's
Yeah,
the pride
because
thing. Go
yeah,
ahead, I'm sorry.
it's no worries. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. It's looked at and viewed at as like a weakness. Like if you, I think, like you said, it is becoming more of a on the rise where people are like more open about it. Like I need to get help, but it's just like this kind of, oh, just suck it up. Just don't. Just move past it. Don't. And a lot of people, it's like, look, we're self-destructing by trying to keep in and not process normal human emotions that every single human experiences. If you're taught this chaotic way or this toxic way to not process your emotions, just stuff it down. You keep stuffing it down. It's just like winding up a spring. Like you can stuff it. The more you stuff that spring down, the harder it's gonna open up when it explodes. So I heavily prioritize mental health amongst myself and amongst my peers and friends, like addiction recovery, mental health, whether you go into rehab, whatever it is, because there's no reason to destroy your life when there is legitimate resources and people that are trained to help you to get through these things and have walked other people through it. And people are living productive, happy, joyful lives because they get treatment. It's like if you receive, if you get like a physical wound, like say you get a gunshot wound, just to be dramatic, you get a gunshot wound, you're going to go to the hospital for immediately. It's the same thing with like dealing with emotional and mental trauma, like whether it's heartbreak or some abuse you've dealt with as a child or whatever it is, that wound needs to be treated and it needs to be healed. And as opposed to just drugs and alcohol, it's like you're only going to numb it for a little bit temporarily, but in the meantime, you're going to cause yourself more bull because I know for me, like when I drink, I'm just a totally different person. That's why I decided to get into recovery in a 12-step program because I know that what alcohol does for me. Like it turns me into a different type of monster that I do not want to be.
Now, here's a study. I did a little research here, and it says that McLean Hospital says that about 25% of African Americans seek mental health treatment. Did you guys know that? Compared to 40% of white Americans. And this is January 29th, 2024. This is the new year, 2024. So more and more people are starting to increase and say, hey, I need to get help. I need to talk to somebody. You cannot carry that weight on your back by yourselves.
Right.
And even me, I'm a Scorpio. I hate bringing zodiac signs into it, but I'm a Scorpio. And sometimes Scorpios, we are very, how can I say it? We figure we're independent. We're fiercely independent and we can do it all by ourselves. And that's how I was kind of raised. I mean, my mom's a Libra. She's raised me to be an outspoken woman. And
I'm a leader.
you guys kind of see that. So get help. Talk to somebody. Swallow your pride and talk to somebody. The resources are out here. And we're starting to see so many artists from Meg Thee Stallion to so many say, hey, she just did an article in Women's Health magazine talking about her depression and mental health and how important it is to her. And her giving back to companies like Better Help, which is a great way that you guys can go and find therapists. And I know a lot of people are just like, you want an outside opinion. uh, go out there and get that outside opinion. Sometimes, your family doesn't have all the answers, but go to someone who might have an outside opinion.
And honestly, just to add to what you said, your family probably does not have any of the answers, honestly,
Yep.
because it's like they may be a part of your trauma. Like they may have good intentions, I'm sure,
Yeah.
but it's just they're not mental health professionals. They don't know how to. They know how to cope with how they've been coping, and then it could be a generational curse where you continue to carry this trauma, and then you destroy relationships, everything.
And that cycle will continue on and on again if it is not broken. You cannot keep doing the same thing and expecting different results. It is called insanity.
Yeah,
And I've learned to break that curse. I try not to. Such a stigma in Black families, absolutely, Shannon. And for
agreed.
years, we've been taught to sweep it up under the rug. Don't talk to nobody. Talk to God about it. Listen, faith without work is dead.
Right.
So God put therapy here for a reason. He wants us to get these resources. And whatever faith, whatever religion you believe in, do what you got to do. Talk to God, talk to somebody, write about it. Don't sit up. And I was just telling this when I had one of my guests on this week, Mel's Safe Space, when she was on with me. We were talking about don't stay inside the house. It's springtime. And lately I've been indulging in a lot of color. For me, my outlet of getting depression out is putting on color. And you guys see that through the fashion. I'm a very colorful person. I love color. Color has enhanced your mood also too. It is a great way. I've learned to hold stuff in, but I found myself exploding on people that I care about. Yeah. And that puts them in a dangerous situation
Yeah,
because they don't know what's going on. They're clueless to the situation. So get out here and talk to somebody. And to black men, because I know a lot of Black men watch my platform. Uh, talk to somebody, talk to your wives, talk to your girlfriends. We won't understand the problem unless you sit and talk to us. Now we're starting to see more and more Black men get out and say, hey, I can talk about this now. Whereas before, it's just like, I'm going to be all right. I don't want to cry. I don't want to show emotion. Let that emotion out.
yeah,
Because next thing you know, you keep that thing bottled up inside. Like Mr. 317 said in the comments, you're ready to explode and go off on somebody.
yeah,
You y'all seen the episode of Good Times, and I always use this reference. When James came in the house from work, he was flaming mad, and he picked up the chair from the dinner table and threw it against the wall, and then he slammed the door in the room. That's a good example.
yeah,
Next thing you're throwing a chair, the next thing you're throwing me against the wall, and I don't know what the hell is going on. So sit down and talk to somebody. That's
yeah,
why the resources are here for you to go and talk to someone.
yeah.
So, and even
There's
for Black women, my sisters out here, Black women, us, we're okay with going to therapy. It's a thing for us. But again, Black women, we have been taught that we have to be strong, and I get so sick of the strong Black woman narrative because they think that Black women we're invincible, that we can carry the weight of the world on our backs, and it's not like that. There are days when I want to be vulnerable, when I want a man to hold me, to just make me feel good about myself, and not where I have to be. Well, in this business, I've learned you have to be defensive as a woman in this business because men will try to take advantage of you. But that hasn't happened to me in my case. But I've learned that I've kind of had to, even when it comes to doing business,
mhm.
I've had to kind of be firm and stand my ground. But there are days when I'm just like, I don't want to be tough all the time. I want to be vulnerable in that moment. Or what's been trending on TikTok, what they call it, I'm in my soft girl era, where I want to be vulnerable and be held and told that I'm cared for and know that I'm cared for. I don't want to have to be strong all the time. And to Roger P. Henson, she touched on that. She said, Black women, we don't want to have to be the strong Black woman all the time. So there are days when I just want to be vulnerable, when I just want to cry and let it out. And that goes for the Black men too, vice versa. Let it out. Let those tears out. And Shaq said, and I'm going to ask you this multifaceted. Shaq said that if a man shows his vulnerability to a woman, she'll use it against him. What are your thoughts on that?
I believe that I've met women who would, but I also have women in my life who would not, and they actually like genuinely love me and care for me. So I got to see both ends of it. Like it just depends on the person. Like just like you have manipulative and vindictive men, you have manipulative and vindictive women that will utilize whatever they can as fuel. But if you the people that I surround myself with, like I'm very selective with the people that I spend a good amount of time with. They're all loving, compassionate, caring for one another. Like everybody wants to see each other doing well. Everybody like, you doing all right? How can we help? Have you talked to your therapist? Have you this? Have you that? Like we're checking in with each other constantly, so that when you do run across somebody who may not have good intentions, it's just a little easier to spot because I've immersed myself in such a good community of people, and it took time. Don't get me wrong; I had to get myself together first so that I could not attract chaos because I was chaos myself for a while. But once I got myself some help and got treatment and stuff, it allowed me to start attracting and seeking out healthy relationships. And now, as a result, I can kind of see the red flags in friendships, relationships, any business associations, whatever it is. And I'm just kind of like, okay, I'm gonna distance myself from this. Like, you may just be a sick person. Like, I was taught in the 12 step program that when somebody's acting and behaving that way, like, it's to view them as another sick person that is in need. Not that you have to be the one to treat them or take care of them, but like, this is a sick person. They're going through it. They're and to distance yourself, and as opposed to getting angry at them or becoming vengeful. But yeah, there's definitely, I agree that there's people like that that will try to destroy you or take advantage, but that is the nature of the beast. Some people are really evil.
Well, as a black man, we have to we have it bad because we was tough, and we was taught that that if you were soft and weak, and if we show our emotions tough all the time, express it. Yes, black men for years, and that's the black collective. That's it goes back to what I said, that stoicism of
Right,
having to be strong all the time. Black men were taught, don't cry, suck it up, be a man, don't show emotions.
right, right. And I
There is
think,
nothing wrong with that. With showing emotions, it means that you're human.
yeah, that's the thing. And when you try to hold everything in, you end up breaking down and all them emotions come out at once, as opposed to you just talking to a therapist or discussing it amongst your friends or your peers or whatever it is. Get around some people who actually care about you and can actually be a sounding board or give you an objective opinion about it, and not just kind of co-sign like your BS. Like if you're, because you can get inside your head and start creating situations that are not even the case. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so if you talk to people who are outside of it, or they're like, look, that doesn't even make sense. You're like, oh, well, like, cause when I talk to my therapist, she's like, she'll call me out on certain things. Like, okay, that's why I enjoy having an objective opinion from somebody who's, because I am a creative person, so we can get super creative about stories in our head. We just add little extra details and whatever it is, and before you know, this is whole full film, and you have this whole situation that's not even the case. So I agree.
And as we touch on mental health, I've done a little bit of research and homework. You indulge in yoga. So tell us about that. Tell us what's the journey for you as far as yoga. And you also do martial arts as well too. So there's so many things that people can do to take their mind off of being depressed. I know for me it's fashion. I love reading fashion and hair magazines. I'm a girly girl, so I love hair and makeup and things like that. When I put on a piece of clothing or a garment, it brings my personality to life. It makes me happy. When I just see the most beautiful things, it can be, I've started collecting Barbies in 2023. And you guys, I'm probably going to have to bring my Barbies on here sometime next week and let y'all see some of them. Um, but it's those little things that make me happy. Every morning I get up and I open my eyes. Two things that I do: I say my affirmations and I pray and I talk to God. That is
Mm-hmm.
a morning ritual for me every single day that I get up. And for you, what does yoga and martial arts do for
Mm. Yoga, aside from the physical benefits of it, of like just having flexibility and allowing your body to be, just feel overall better,
you? Yeah.
the mental and like the grounding that it allows you to get, because I have a good yoga instructor. We usually go for like it's like an outdoor yoga where you're at the botanical gardens in the city close
Mm.
by us, the city Claremont. So you're able to just, she guides you through a meditation at the end of it and just like walks you through it. And yoga is just like, it's always been like a spiritual thing for me. Like at first it started off just physical, but as I've learned to like do meditation and do prayer and affirmations, I realized yoga is huge is in regards to grounding yourself and finding that inner peace. And it just becomes a a normal practice. And when I don't do it, I feel the difference in my overall, just like with the prayer and the meditation. I feel the difference in my day to day like responses to people, and I'm like more aggravated or irritated. And then martial arts, that's been something that's just helped me to actually become a little more peaceful. Actually, it's uh, it's a lot of the more you intensely you practice, the better off you become as far as being just confident in yourself and like being able to take care of yourself physically. I feel like really gives you just more peace of mind, like being able to walk through.
True, because my emotions are all twisted up. I don't cry. I'm only happy when I smoke a blunt. That's because that was the only outlet that I had. Right. And you know, you sound just like Mr. 317, Bubs to God. You sound so much like him right now because that's something that he would do. But hey, everybody has their way of doing it with coping with depression. For me, mine is fashion. If I'm not doing something, if I'm not busy, just if I'm not doing anything, if I'm not active or doing something, I mean, I'm just sitting there. So get up, do something, go outside. And I know my mom, she'll invite me to go places with her. She's always on the go, always shopping, and I love to shop. So retail therapy is a way for me. Another outlet for me is going outside. Nature. This is the best time because when it was winter time, everything was closed off. The flowers was closed off. Did y'all notice that? Now that it is the springtime, you've got the bees pollinating, everything is pollen everywhere. But I could care less about that. But I look at the flowers. The flowers are fully bloomed. The color of them is just everything for me. So color makes me happy. And there's a lot of people who are like myself who see color and it makes them happy. I know for me, yellow, I think green, I think blue. The colors for this season, that's why I've been sending you guys, whenever I message you, purple and blue, because those two colors are significant to me for some reason. Blue is seduction, purple is royalty. And them both together means that you have something innovative in the making. So that's why I chose purple and blue this season. Whereas before season 17, everything was very monochromatic. It was beige, it was cream, it was pink. And I said, no, I need some color in my life because my emotions was everywhere. So colors also can affect your moods. Um, Another thing that can affect your mood also is the weather. I mean, when it's gloomy outside or rainy, I'm like, no, I got to have some sunlight. I got to have some sort of sunshine. So I put on music because sitting in the house staring at the walls can drive you crazy if you're not out doing something. So please get out of that space of just being a couch potato and sitting on the couch sulking, depressed. And my mom, she would get on me. She said, "Are you in that room crying?" So I'll say no. And I find little things to do. I write. I love to write. Writing is therapeutic. Reading is therapeutic. Again, you guys know that I love fashion. That's therapeutic. Any form of adding color to my life is happiness for me.
Yeah, I agree with the weather. It's because I'm just getting over being. I was sick for like probably close to like 2 weeks. Like I lost my voice. I barely got my voice back. Like maybe 3 days ago. Like yeah, maybe about 2 days ago. And I was even worried about because I knew we had this interview coming up, and I'm just like, oh my god, I
Oh,
lost my voice, and I barely got it back. And as I was, that took away two things that were like my primary outlets. One was creativity, being able to sing, practice rapping, rehearse. And then the other thing was going to the gym, physically taking care of my body. And when I wasn't able to do either one, it put me in this space where I was like, okay, now I had to get back to my coping skills of like more meditation, more prayer, like get outside, just go walk because I may not be able to go to the gym, but I can go outside and just walk and go grounding barefooted, just on the grass or whatever it is, just to get back in touch with nature because it's crazy when you get into a routine and then I've allowed myself to when those coping mechanisms are taken away, it can shake up the foundation, but it also is an opportunity to focus more on the other coping skills like meditation, prayer, just reading, writing, talking to people. So it is an opportunity. I guess there's a silver lining in everything.
and talking to people for me also is therapeutic. That's why I created my platform because you never know what a person could be going through, even for the viewers at home that are watching, and they see everything that's going on in the news. Another thing that can affect your mood is just watching the news, the chaos that's going on in the world.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to unplug. And I've talked to people, and people say literally you've been a beacon of light. You've been like a hope in this dark world that we're at. And that's what I've gotten some of the inbox messages that people would send me. And I'm just like, wow, I didn't know. I thank you for that. Thank you for saying that I'm this to you. I'm doing this. That's why I do what I do, because I want to continue to bring some sort of happiness and just a sense of ease and an escape for people, because we're in such dark times right now. With everything that's going on in the world, people need an escape. They need a getaway. And if I can do that for just a few minutes, you're just getting off from work, going to pick up the kids or whatever every day at 4, then I don't mind. I love making people happy. That's something that I pride myself up on. It's just knowing that I've done something to impact people's lives and make them feel good. And just from them listening to the conversations, people be like, wow, I've been through this, or I know someone who's been through this similar situation of suffering with depression and mental health or mental illness or bipolar disorder, whatever it may be. And we see a lot of our favorite stars. I mentioned Taraji P. Henson.
Mhm.
Fantasia is another one. Missy Elliott is another one. Lil
Yeah.
Wayne is another one. Some of our favorite stars have opened up about being depressed and how depressing it is. You know, sometimes you can have all the success, all the Grammys, all the Oscars in the world, but that isn't going to replace your mental health. You still feel empty. You're just like, wow, I'm at the top of the world.
Yeah.
I'm at the top of the charts on the Billboard. I'm at this, all of these things. I'm winning all of these accolades. I'm getting all of these movie roles. And it's just like, I'm still empty. I still feel empty on the inside.
Yeah. It doesn't discriminate. That's the thing. Like, same thing with addiction. You could be well off, financially stable, whatever it is, but it doesn't discriminate. Like, you learn that it can touch anybody's life, and if it goes untreated, it can ruin your life. So that's why I'm grateful for all the resources that I've come across to be able to utilize where I can actually have a life that's worth living and see it as such.
Absolutely. Now, you said research. So you know where we're going here. Education. You've attended community college and you were studying to go into a medical field. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. Yeah, at one point in my life, I definitely wanted to become a traveling nurse, a traveling RN, because there was primary a lot like financially it would have been rewarding, and then also just to be able to travel would have also just it's something I've always wanted to do. Still to this day, I want to travel, but it was something that another opportunity came up along the way as far as a career change, and I was like, okay, this is also giving back and serving to the community, so I would definitely like to go that route. But the passion for music and the desire to create, it's always been there, and it allowed me going through school just opened up a lot to for creativity for myself to be able to number one just dive into the books even more, and I think that allowed me to expand my vocabulary, expand my thought process to be able to create even better, and I think just articulate better and be able to express whatever I had going on inside. So just going to school, I feel like just opens up creativity even further. And yeah, there's just I'm in the trades now, and I feel like it just gives me the opportunity to where I can actually take care of my life and myself financially, but also create. Where creativity is not necessarily for me like a form of I'm not pursuing it as a career. It's something that I just have to do, just for my mental health, my sanity. Like I need to create.
Yes. And another thing, nurses heal people, doctors heal people. In a way, you are like a nurse because you're doing it through music. You're healing people. You've opened up about your battle with alcohol addiction. You've opened up about depression, all of these different moods and emotions through all of your music that I've listened to, from Misery to Intuition to God's Violin. Every piece of music that you put out, every masterpiece, you're
Thank you.
telling a different story of your life. And a lot of people, I'm pretty sure, that are listening to these singles that you have out are saying, wow, he's saying something that's spot on to me. And that's happened to me also with another artist, Mary J. Blige, when she put out the My Life album. And I'm pretty sure you guys know about the My Life album. That is a classic.
Yeah.
No skips. It's like, wow, she's singing to my soul. Everything that she's saying, when she's singing these songs, you feel it. You feel it. And for you, you do the same thing through your music.
Thank you.
You, you're
Thank
healing people.
That means a lot. I really appreciate that.
Yes. So keep ministering, keep healing because you have a purpose. And every artist has a purpose out here. And we've lost some icons that are no longer with us who suffered with addiction, who battled with depression. And I can go down a list. Jimi Hendrix, one of the greatest. Whitney Houston. And you know y'all know I'm a big Whitney fan. You can't say nothing bad about Whitney. I'm Every Woman is one of my anthems. um, Aretha Franklin. Watching her
Right.
story, the Queen of Soul, watching her story, I never knew that she battled with alcohol addiction also too. If you guys go back and watch that, she battled with it too. She
Yeah.
was in an abusive relationship. Michael Jackson, the whole Jackson dynasty, Janet herself, she said she's been depressed. There are days when she didn't even want to go to the studio. As I mentioned with the Velvet Rope album, she almost didn't record it.
Yeah.
It was too difficult. Some songs, it's one song on there, number 15, What About? And that's the song that I was talking about as it pertains to domestic violence on that particular album. She said she almost did record that single. And every time she performs it on stage, she gets choked up. She cries because it makes her think about everything she's been through. Um,
Right.
Another one of the artists that has battled behind the scenes with darkness and just Prince. Prince is one of my favorites, one of the
Yeah.
greatest.
He's an
Phyllis
icon.
Hyman is another.
Yeah.
Sam Cooke.
Mm. Yeah. So many people that go through these things, and that's why I'm glad that people are recovering out loud, like whether it's from mental health or addiction. Like people are not in the dark about it anymore. It seems like more and more people, and I follow like one of the podcasts I follow on Instagram is the Hopeaholics, and they're like recovery out loud. They're like, this is something that people suffer with, and you have a community of people that are out here because everybody's not for like the whole 12-step program or like they don't believe in it or
They
whatever it
didn't want to go
is.
through.
Yeah, they don't want to. A lot of I've met some people who just don't want to go through that. It's like this internal process where you got to figure out what's your part in all the BS that you've created in your life, and it is a very difficult thing to do all that self reflection. So I feel like that's one reason people push it away, or some people may not suffer from addiction to where they can have a drink and it doesn't become a 3 week bender to where they end up in the hospital. You know what I mean? Like that's for me. That's the case where I can't just have one and I'm like, oh, okay, I'm just gonna have this one. Maybe I'll get away with that a couple times, but eventually it's gonna end up on like a 5150 hold, in a detox treatment somewhere. So I know that I have to stay active in my recovery, and that all of it's all encompassing of like my mental health, my taking care of physical health, emotional health, spiritual development. It's a what do you call it? A holistic approach to taking care of myself,
Naturally.
and creating is a part of that too. If I don't create, then there's this void. There's this empty feeling where I'm like, I'm not doing something that I know I should be doing.
I'm gonna read Deshaun's comment. Deshaun, are you still here? Let me know. He says people use their art for pain. People use their music for pain. People use anything for pain. And
Mm,
they, as artists put whatever it is that they were experiencing in that moment. If they're in love, you're gonna know they're in love because they're singing about it. If they are depressed, like I've mentioned with Mary J. Blige, that My Life out, everything she's been through some stuff, and you
yeah,
can feel it in her voice when she sings it. It's so many artists out here that
yeah,
use whatever it is that they've experienced. Multi, you are a great example. You use your pain and you put it into your music. And there are people who are probably battling with alcohol addiction, who are battling with abandonment, who are battling with loss of a loved one, or know someone who's lost someone.
right,
You feel all these different emotions from listening to different artists. Another one of my favorite soundtracks in my life is Lauryn Hill's The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. That is a powerful
right,
album. She was head on ahead of her time, and it's zero skips. Zero. Skips. So those are two of my favorite albums. Whenever I'm in that space where I'm just like, ooh, I need to come back. I need to come
Yeah,
back from it. So those are my go-tos. But every artist has their niche of getting the message out, whatever it is that they know they've experienced or know someone who's experienced, and they've suffered loss in their lives also too.
right,
So it's just like, how do I talk about this? I lost my mom, I lost my dad, and there's a lot of people who've lost their mom and dad, and we have these discussions all the time here on my platform where we talk about loss and how painful it is. On one of my viewers, she came in not too long ago and she said, I've been through a painful breakup, Miss Stevie, what do I do? And it was me and one of my guests. He was giving her some advice. Also, hi Diamond, welcome TGIF.
hi,
Giving her some advice on what she can do to recover from this heartache, because going through a breakup is a painful thing also too. It's
yeah,
like you lose a piece of yourself, and it's going to take people a while to get back to themselves, get back to their happy version of themselves, because you were so madly in love with this person promised you the world, and then sometimes things don't work out all the time.
right, and that's that's one of the things I learned in going into recovery was after a breakup. It's I've seen some people give it advice like, "Oh, just move on to the next person or whatever it is," blah
I've
blah blah,
been
and it's not healthy. It's like give yourself time to adequately heal from it because you cared about this person. This person was a part of you, and it doesn't mean anything. But however, like you said, things just don't work out sometimes. It doesn't necessarily mean either person is bad or whatever. It just didn't work out, or maybe you just both had some traits or characteristics going on that didn't mesh together, or it was just craziness, whatever it is. But if you jump from one relationship to the next without giving yourself time to heal by going to therapy, going to check in with your mental health, talking to people, just let yourself grieve because if you're truly in love with someone, you're not going to be able to just turn the switch on and off. Unless you're some sort of sociopath, you're not going to just be able to turn it on and off. Like it doesn't work like that for humans. So it's like give yourself
absolutely.
time.
And that was the interview that I did with Nathaniel Bryan Anderson, and me and her, we were taking questions at the end. They were asking him questions, and I asked her. I said, "Hey, is this question for me or Nathaniel?" And Nathaniel took it, and we both took it. So there's a lot of people who suffer from heartache, from losing a significant other, or losing a family member, losing a sibling, losing loved one. I lost my sister in 2018,
Yeah,
and that for me, because I know June will be here right around the corner before you know it. June 29th is bittersweet for me and my family, because it's like, how do I celebrate her and she's not here? But
right.
my sister was a happy-go-lucky person, and she would have wanted us to celebrate her life. I know the last time we did a balloon release, we went to her gravesite and we did a balloon release, and it was beautiful. The family came together and we just sat and we talked about what was our favorite memory of her. I know I used to do her hair all the time, and I would go and spend the night with her, and just those little things. Yes, siblings bicker back and forth. Hubs to you. I lost my brother to cancer. His birthday is coming up next month.
My
Planet is
condolences in diverse fashion.
sending you my love, beautifully diverse fashion. See? And it resonates with the viewers at home, because they could have lost a brother. They could have lost a sister. And I say the most precious diamonds to me are my grandmother. I've talked about my grandmother. And when was it? It was this week. And I talked about her being in the hospital, taking that
Hmm.
fall, the power of God that made her revive right back. They had to resuscitate her. She had blood clots on her lungs,
Oh,
and she is now up, alert, and talking. I didn't tell anybody, but I said it this week on the show. So my
yeah,
grandmother, my mom spoke with her, went to go visit her yesterday, or was it the day before? And I got a chance to speak with her on the phone. My mom handed her the phone. She sounded a whole lot better. So she's up. She is in physical therapy. And I kept saying two words, but God.
hmm,
And my aunt kept telling me have faith, because I didn't know what I would do. I'm surrounded by strong Black women. And the reason why my platform resonates with so many people, because I remind them somewhat in a way of some of the women in their family, whether it be your aunt, your mom, or the girl next door, the sister, the friend, so many people. So I try to be as human as possible. And what I mean by human is I try to be relatable, down to earth, to where it's like, okay, she knows where I'm going with this. But my grandmother, I said, is one of the most precious diamonds to me. There's not enough Tiffany's and enough Hermes bags and Birkin bags in the world or whatever that can replace these two women in my life. My mother and my grandmother, they are precious to me because
Right.
I would not be here if it wasn't for them.
Literally.
And my grandmother is still here. She's 81 years old. She's 81 years old and she's still here, still thriving, still surviving, still cursing people out. I think that's something that I get from her too, because I have a little bit of a potty mouth behind the scenes.
Yeah.
But I'm thankful to have her here alive, knowing that she's well, knowing that she's recovering. So blessings to all of those who have family members that are sick, that have lost family members. My heart goes to each and every one of you because that's a different kind of pain. Losing a parent, losing a grandparent is a different kind of pain. And I wouldn't wish that on nobody. So my heart goes to everybody out there. Health and blessings and living life. And I want artists like yourself, multifaceted, and as well as so many others, Mary J. Blige, as I said, to keep putting artistry out here that people can relate to, and you do that so effortlessly. Your pen game is just, I can't even describe it. I would have to say innovative
Thank you.
because you, your delivery on things. It's like when I listen to Misery, that one part, that one lyric stood out to me because I seen the lyrics. You have a
Mhm.
lyric video, and I seen the lyrics, and I went through and I pressed pause, and I said I can relate to this lyric because I'm now in a point in my life where I've had to let go of certain friends. They didn't mean me no well. And I realized that as you get bigger in the business, and I said this in my stories yesterday, when you become a truth speaker, you're going to lose some people. When you bring truth to power, you're going to lose some people. I'm not in the business of here to be liked by everybody. And I've realized that. But I am going to
Yeah.
bring awareness to things that are important to the world that my people, Black people, need to know about. So I'm not in the business to be liked. I've realized that I'm not going to be everybody's cup of tea. You're going to lose people. And that's
Absolutely.
okay. People come in your life for a reason and a season. The ones who
Mm-hmm.
are there to be there and the ones who are not there, that were just there temporarily, let them go. And I posted that quote this morning. So when people leave your life or walk out of your life, let them. God puts them for in your life for a reason and a season.
Right. And exactly. And you'll outgrow some relationships. And I've learned that in recovery that just getting healthier and like taking better care of yourself, certain people won't, they just can't stand to be around you anymore because you're no longer immersed in that toxicity and that craziness. So it just will not, it won't even sit right with their spirit. So you'll have to let people go. They'll have no choice but to leave. So I've learned that where I'm just like, I've learned acceptance is something that's been huge for me. Where I'm like, okay, as long as I can get it in here, like some people are gonna stay, some people are gonna go, and some people mean me no good. And God is gonna let God just reveal that, and I have to be open and receptive to it. I can't be so emotionally attached to people where it's like, oh, I don't want to let them go. We've been friends for this amount of time. Sometimes it's the people who just because they've been around for X amount of years, it doesn't necessarily mean that they have the best intentions. Because I've had people I've known for less than a year, and they've done nothing but been a blessing to my life. So I don't think it's not the quantity of time; it's the quality of the relationship. I believe.
And it hurts to let these people go, but it's just like I gotta be healthy. I gotta move on. I cannot have this toxicity in my life anymore. You gotta
Nobody
let
has
some,
time. No time for the toxicity.
and it hurts. It hurts bad, but it's just like, hey, I wish you well. I wish you on your way.
Yeah.
100%.
Right. Absolute truth.
So, Fashion Dolls, do we have any questions for myself or Multifaceted here? Before we get into our games, as you guys are typing, we're going to do two games here with Multifaceted. And I do this with all of my guests. So he has to tell me 5 things that he can't live without. And they can be your favorite food, your favorite show you like to binge watch, It can be your favorite singer. You have to give me 5 of your guilty pleasures. And then in the next segment we're going to do is called Turn the Tables. And this is where my guests get to ask me questions, as many as they want. It can be on anything related to fashion, beauty, life, goals, dreams. I'm being put in the hot seat in the next segment, Fashion Dolls. So for my new viewers out there, if you don't know about me, you'll get to know about me through his questioning, Fashion Dolls. All right. So we are going to start off with the rapid five. What are 5 of multifaceted monsters' guilty pleasures?
Five things I can't live without. Well, off top, one of my friends, she's Peruvian. Any of her food, any of her Peruvian food that she cooks, that's hands down number one. Number two, I can't live without and go without creating, writing music. Three, her relationship with engineers that are able to make my music. Four, hiking. Like I need to be able to get out in nature and hike and just get back in touch with it's how I'm able to, I guess, just see God visually, where I'm like everything that's out there and just create it. And the fifth thing would have to be a good symphony, like just music where like the orchestras, everything is just it's just an amazing thing. Like I love music, just like when you see someone directing it, it's an amazing thing. Like I want to be able to incorporate that into music to my music one of these days.
And you know what? I touched on this week with one of my guests, Dame Smith. I said I wish a lot more artists that are out right now would incorporate live bands into their performances. It's okay to have the backing track, the instrumental, and they're going along. They know it word for word and everything. But I would like to see more artists incorporate live bands into their music. So
That'd be awesome.
let me read some of you guys' comments. Beautifully Diverse Fashions has a question for you. She says, have you ever had those toxic people come back in your life? What did you do? I had someone come back and I should have said no. And Diamond says, I can't live without cookies. Me too, girl. I love white chip macadamia. So,
Damn. So the question was, have I ever had someone toxic come in, try to come back into my life? I have, um, and I gave it a fair assessment. I'm like, because I looked at it like I've made changes. Like I'm not one of those people that believe that people can't change. Like I just simply don't believe that. I'll assess it. I assessed this particular situation. I looked at it, but the person hadn't really made any changes. They were actually seemingly more manipulative than they were prior. So I was just kind of like, was going to give it a chance, but then I eventually was just like, I'm good. Like I had to thoroughly let it go for the second time. Just like, yeah, I'm not going to go down that route because I've already seen it. It's like the snake doesn't have to bite me in order for me to know it's a snake when it's already showing its fangs. And like, but yeah, I'll give people a second chances, but it depends like to the severity of what they did though. Like if it's something too far crazy, that you know what I mean, like when you cross that line. But it's certain things where it's just like, okay, you were being whatever, like you have some issues going on. But yeah, there's things that are forgivable, and I guess things that are I guess you can forget about, but you just keep these people away from you. But yeah,
yeah, I'll forgive you, but I won't forget. Right. You don't cross that line again. Just make sure that you be aware. You welcome those people back in your life.
right, right,
All right.
yeah.
Fashion Dolls, my heart is beating so fast for this next segment. It is time to turn those tables.
Mhm.
So I'm going to pass it on down to multifaceted monster here, and he's going to ask me some questions, as many as he wants. And through his questioning, for my new viewers, you'll get to know a little bit about me. Likes, dislikes, whatever it is that he wants to know, and you guys are curious to know, you'll find out. So take it away.
All right. The first question: what is if you had only one album that you could listen to for the rest of your life, who would what artist and what album would it be? That you couldn't listen to anything else.
Mm. I would say Brandy's Never Say Never.
Yep.
Again, like I've mentioned, Mary J. Blige's My Life album.
Yeah,
That album also too resonates with me. You've gone through heartache, you've gone through happiness, you go through so many different parts of your life, and it's like Brandy. They don't call her the vocal Bible for a reason. Like it's like when she sings, you feel her pain, you feel her happiness, you feel her joy, you feel all of these different emotions. And you know who else was capable of doing that? Whitney Houston.
Mm.
So
Yeah,
Brandy
Houston's
Never Say Never would be my, I could listen to that back to back.
okay. Next question. What is one collaboration, two people of different genres that you've been dying to see? Two people that have never collaborated that you that will make your day, make your life if they collaborated. Two different genres though.
I would say Usher and Meg Thee Stallion. I
Hmm,
mean, from the Super Bowl to the the Essence cover that he has out right now, Usher is doing. They have now deemed him the king of R&B. So I would love to see a collab with him and Meg Thee Stallion. I know that would be fun.
that would be awesome. Yeah, that would be really interesting because I've only heard a couple of songs. Obviously, I know who both of them are, but I've only heard like, well, she's like her name is so big, you hear her songs, like you hear about her. So I'm like, that would be an interesting collaboration. All right, next question. Who actually? What started you on your journey to create this platform? Like prior to this, what was your what is your creative outlet?
My creative outlet. I started Style by Stevie right after high school, 2014. And when I first came in, I didn't know what I was doing. I was very cocky, very arrogant. I started because I started off young. I was like in my 19s, 20s, heading into the 20s. And I thought I knew it all. But it's just like at a certain period of time, you have to humble yourself. And
Right.
thank God I've had people that are in my life that are just like, hey, tap me on my shoulder to sort of wheel me back in and say, hey, you got to do this delivery a little bit different. So with me now being 30 years old, I see a whole new different perspective and outlook on life and just through different things that I see in the world.
Mm,
So the journey for me creating this platform started right after high school. And I also, at the time, just graduated out of beauty school. So I took cosmetology, took up cosmetology as well.
right on.
And I worked in a hair salon. That's another thing people didn't know about me. And I said, what is going to be my next journey? So randomly, we would do weekdays topics at 11 a.m. every single day on Facebook. That's where we started. And I said, no, we got to have a name for it. It can't be weekdays topics. It's just too bland. So, what are some things that I love? Fashion, beauty. I love music. I love actors. I love all of these things. If I'm going to do it, it's got to have a name. So I'm just sitting there writing things down as I always do. And I said, no, no, Style by Stevie.
Mm,
That's it. That's the name for it. And when people think of it, they see the name, they think fashion because that's what they know me for. But I'm just like, it's so much more than that. I have actors, I have musicians come on. Yes, you'll get fashion, but it's so much more than that. My brand, my name is a lifestyle. It is a lifestyle. You get glamour, you get sophistication, you get elegance, you get intellect, you get all of these things, and you get a dose of reality because that's what I want people to walk away from. Also, knowing that my guests have had an impact on their lives, and it's just like how we were talking about, depression and mental illness. There's a lot of people out here who suffer with that, and they don't talk about it, and they just come in and they just put it all out, whatever it is that they're feeling in the comments, and it's just like, wow, my guests are able to touch and reach out to these people and have an
mm.
impact in their lives. And that's what I want my platform to do. So that's the end goal, is to know that I've impacted. I want to leave this world as I take my last breath on this earth, knowing that I made an impact on people's lives and I've made them happy.
That literally you just that's beautiful. That's awesome. And you literally my next question was going to be what you already answered. I was going to say like a quote that I like saying is what's important to me is the dash between the two dates being your birth date and your death date, and what you want to do with that time. Like, what is your primary purpose, or the top three things that you would like to accomplish on that dash, like in your tombstone, to be remembered by? And you kind of really touched on it, but if you want to elaborate more on that.
Well, of course, I want to be remembered for my different fashions, my hairstyles, because I'm always changing it up. Everybody's like, she's blonde one day, the next day, I shock people with the green hair. I've done it all. So that's one thing. Another thing, my personality, my sense of humor. Because even in the dark times, I'm going to try to put a smile on somebody's face. Like my mom is the same way. And I think we are our parents' children. We inherit what our parents' personality, their genes, all of these things. My mom is the same way. She does not like to see me sad. I don't like to see her sad and cry. And what's so crazy is now I'm taking the mom role, even though I'm the child, I'm the daughter. I've taken the mom role, and if I see her cry, I'm like, "What's wrong?" I don't know. She broke down one day. She was sitting in the kitchen and she just broke down crying. I didn't cry. I was stoic, and I just hugged her. So
Mm.
yeah, we got to be strong for our parents because that's what our parents want. But that's another thing I want to be known for is my nurturing personality. I've learned that you got to have a sense of empathy in this world. Whereas
You,
before, the old Miss Stevie that was hosting this platform, if y'all would have met her years ago, she would have just straight up told you get the f out her face. But now I'm just like, you can't have that approach with people. You got to do it. You got to have a sense of empathy. There's a time and a place for everything. So with me now being 30, I'm an aunt now. I have a nephew. You got to do things a little different.
word. That is awesome. I appreciate that. Yeah, that was my final question. That's definitely all encompassing of everything. Like being remembered by something. Is that creativity? Like everyone, I feel like everybody is a creative, and you have a leg, not necessarily a legacy to leave behind, but like an imprint on people's hearts and in people's lives. And I feel like that for me is like I really want to die like an empty vessel. I don't want to take any songs or any
Yeah.
poetry to the grave. Like that is my purpose to just leave. So I applaud you for your purpose and what you want to be remembered by. That's awesome.
And the same for you. You're doing it through your music. You're doing it through your music. God's violin, intuition, misery, all
I
of these things. You are putting your pain into your music, and it's impacting other people's lives. So my last question for you before we wrap up, if you guys have any questions, go ahead and ask myself a multifaceted monster before we close eyes. You guys are typing. My last question for you is, what's next for you in your next chapter of life? Coming out of this dark period, what's next for the next phase in your life?
the next part, now that I came out of that dark place and now I have a foundation, like I consider it a launching pad, which is my recovery from addiction. Now that I have a stable program of recovery to work, now is where I could allow myself to take creativity as far as I can go with it. It's just simply there is no destination, but rather a journey. And I just want to take creativity and not allow myself to hold back for overthinking anything. So it's just more and more creation, more and more improving my quality of life and those people around me. It's just that continuous journey. So it's always going to be different adventures within that. So it'll be plenty. I'm sure that I'll post about on Instagram. I'm pretty active on it, like keeping people up to date with stuff. So definitely, yeah.
Any questions for myself, a multifaceted monster, ladies and gentlemen? And I hope this conversation has had an impact on you guys' lives overall. Again, we touched on a number of things today. We touched on alcohol addiction. We touched on depression. We touched on mental illness, not keeping things bottled up inside.
Right.
And we talked about opening up and going to seek therapy. The Black Collective opening up and seeking therapy. There are so many resources out here. BetterHelp.org or .com can point you in the direction of therapists. There's so many out here that will be able to help you. Sometimes you want an outside opinion. You don't want to listen. Sometimes your family doesn't have the answers, as Moti said here. Listen, go to someone, talk to someone who has an outside opinion. It just might be the help you need. There's so many people. I'm one DM away, and I'm pretty sure that Multi here can help
Hey,
you as well too.
yeah, I
Reach
would
out.
point you to any that I can. Reach out. I'll point you to any resources I can, whether it's addiction, mental health, or whatever. Like, feel free to drop in my DMs.
Talk to somebody. Don't keep it bottled up inside. Black people, my black people, we have to open up. It's a lot of trauma to unpack, believe me. But if we talk about it and get it off our chest, you'll feel so much better. That burden is lifted off of you. Just going to a session, sitting with a therapist. There's nothing wrong with going to sit on the couch and tell your doctor or therapist what's going on. This and then they'll ask you these type of questions. Well, why do you think this way? Or why do you think this should happen? Or why do you know you feel this way? All of these questions they will ask you. So it's always good to get a second outside opinion. So get help. And I see we don't have any questions, so I'm going to close it out with today's final thought, which comes from Muhammad Ali. He says, "He who is not courageous enough to take risks will accomplish nothing in life." So, in order to take risks, you have to step outside of your comfort zone and do things that you are not comfortable with doing. That can be a career move, that can be removing people who will no longer be serving you any purpose in your life. It can be scary and it can hurt at the same time. But listen, it's for the best. You got to do what you got to do to get to the next chapter because I posted a quote this morning and I said, moving on to the next life, moving on to the new phase of my life, moving on to the next journey. So remember, change can be scary, but listen, it's so worth it. It's so worth it. You feel a sense of, for me, the number 30 is symbolizes awakening. It symbolizes a new chapter in your life. And for me, this is my new chapter in my life. And you guys have seen the growth all the way from when I first started to now. My outlook on perspectives. No, you bye bye. I know. I'm sorry, y'all. This the 317. I know what that means. I'll see you tonight. Let me see.
One
Beautifully diverse fashions. What do you think? What do you both hope to contribute to the younger generation? You want to go first, Melty, or you want me to go?
Sure, I'll go. What I hope to contribute is the idea that life is not hopeless, and that one idea I want to get across to the younger generation for sure is like, and I actually saw this following the Hopeaholics podcast. Like when I was growing up, trying and experimenting with drugs and all that was like a thing growing up, and I'm in my 30s, so it was a different time. And one of the ladies, Natalie, who's a part of the Hopeaholics podcast, she mentioned that there is no this idea of like, oh, I just want to try this drug because everything is laced with fentanyl, and people are dying when they're first trying something.
Yeah.
So I just want to be able to spread that message of like, it's not safe to just try shit. I'm sorry for my language, but it's just not safe to because it could be your last thing. And I would like to contribute the idea of recovery and just healing to the younger generations and just know that you don't have to suppress and hold these emotions in, but you could actually function normally. And I can only express myself as much as I can through music to try to convey that message. But that's definitely what I hope to pass along.
I love what Diamond said. I want to contribute truth. That's part of what I want to contribute to. I want to contribute giving the truth to people because I feel like people deserve to hear the truth. And you're going to have that one friend that's going to tell you everything you don't want to hear, but you need to hear. And that's what I want to contribute to in my life. Another thing that I want to contribute to the next generation is confidence, helping them build up their confidence because I know that there's so many young people who struggle with society, peer pressure. There's all of these things out here that our youth are taking in just from watching, and they're just like, wow, that I need to change this about myself. No, self acceptance. I want people to learn, the youth predominantly, is to accept themselves. I want them to have a sense of self awareness, self love, learn to appreciate and love yourself. So those are things that I want to encourage our youth to do, and I want to contribute to encourage them to be their individual self, the best version of yourself. So,
Amen.
and
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. I'm so glad that Noli reached out to you. It's been an honor and a privilege.
Yes. And we got to set something up again. We got to do it again. So I definitely will talk out to Nolly and we can set it up. She's going to see this interview. This interview will be uploaded on my YouTube so you guys can go and check it out. Style by
Awesome.
Stevie Daytime. So hit that bell and subscribe, and you'll be notified when all of the new interviews are uploaded. One more thing, I had to learn to fight the enemy. So I break it down as I had to fight to enemy because I'm the biggest. Yes, sometimes you can be your own worst
Yeah.
enemy. And listen, before we go real quick, um, I've learned to stop critiquing myself. That's another thing we have to stop doing is critiquing ourselves so harshly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some
Agree.
people go back and they'll watch. For you as an artist, I'm pretty sure you go back and you're like, I don't want to listen to myself. I don't want to listen to myself. If I watch my interviews, one thing I've noticed myself doing, I would go back and I'll critique myself harshly. And I would have my peers, my colleagues and friends say, be like, girl, you're tripping. Like, you did excellent in this interview. We don't see what you see. Sometimes you'll see things and
Get in
they'll be
here.
like, we don't see. It's in your head.
We are our own worst critic. I totally agree with the 317. Like you could destroy ourselves, and other people be like, "You're doing great." Like, so I get you.
You're see, you're seeing things, you're hearing things. So that happens. He's not lying. 317 is not lying. I've done it myself too. I would put myself down and I'm just learn my island Yankee. He would always tell me, he said, if you don't stop, and he just gave me that look like, if you don't stop, stop doing this right now. You are doing it again. You're putting yourself down. You did great.
Right.
And my mom, if you ever need self reassurance, go back to your elders.
Hmm.
For me, it's my grandmother
Right.
or my great aunt.
Yeah. Amen.
Took me 51 years to finally trust the process. Beat me to the punch with discipline and guidance. And that's
Yeah.
what you need in order to have a skillful, successful life. Just say enemy and tell me how it sounds. Enemy, yes.
Mm.
Listen, everyone is battling with demons out here. I've always had confidence. Just life shows up
Yeah.
all the time. And
And
you've heard, everybody's heard this expression. Life is life.
yeah.
Y'all heard it. Life is life. And so sometimes you have to take that break and regroup and do what you have to do.
Right.
And trust me, I've been there in that position.
Same. Same for me. So again, we definitely got to set something up again. And again, I really appreciate it. It's been an awesome experience.
Yes, that's such a great time with all of you. And where can everyone check you out and check out your music?
Uh, so you can follow me on Instagram. My website is my name, multifacetedmonster.com. That's where you can find anything. You can find my poetry there. You can find merch. You can find uh, music videos as well. And my Instagram is my primary like outlet for like upcoming tracks and stuff because I have a song coming up with Millie Blooms. She's my friend from the UK. She is awesome. So we have a song coming up soon. That's the date is to be determined, but it'll be within the next couple of months. We're just getting all the business parts of it taken care of. But yeah, she's another person to follow as well, Millie Blooms.
And, and 317 said, is it okay to follow? He
Absolutely.
wants to follow you.
Yeah, and I'll be following back. I saw a couple people follow me, but I didn't want to interrupt and follow back right now. But like beautifully diverse fashion and diamond, and then yeah, I'll follow back as well.
All right, fashion dolls. This concludes our conversation. Thank you so much for such a powerful testimony. I have no idea that you battled with these things, but again, your transparency is powerful. And I'm pretty sure that by me leaving this up, it is going to help and impact other people's lives. So I need you guys to go back and watch this interview from beginning to end and listen carefully to everything that multifaceted, everything that he is saying. And he says he also writes poetry.
Oh yeah, we could connect on some poetry. I'll follow you back.
All right, fashion dolls. I want you guys to be safe, be fabulous, be blessed, and have an amazing weekend. Next week, we have Eugene Bracy. He joins me, and the lineup for next week will go up today at the end of the show. So make sure you guys check out the lineup for next week's shows. And this interview will be saved here on IGTV, so you guys can go back and catch it from beginning to end. And also on Style by Stevie Daytime. And also head on over and subscribe to Multifaceted Monsters channel so you can check out the singles God's Violin 2, Intuition, and Misery. Check out the singles. They are out right now on all platforms. And I love you all, Fashion Bellas. Take care.
Bye.